going to move us on to our next speaker, Stefano. Something completely different. Going to talk to us about drones and 3D mapping and forests.
Yeah.
Did I make that up? You are using drones, aren't you?
Also, yeah.
Okay, but that's not the focus of this talk.
Yeah, well, I guess it is part of it. So I'm Stefano, and thanks a lot for inviting me. My work relates a lot to shooting lasers at trees, but despite my kids' excitement, it's not that exciting. You can't actually see the lasers, and I don't know how many of you have seen such data, but this is sort of what it looks like. It can be very detailed. This is a terrestrial laser scanner, but we use drone laser scanners as well. And we're using this data to get a better understanding of forests and the forest ecology and how we can better manage our forests. So this data really provide us with a really new understanding of how forests look like and the structure of trees. And that alone can really tell a lot of stories about the trees. And these are stories that can relate to the structure and the structural diversity. So we can use this information to understand canopy niches, or we can understand in general, like how diverse a forest ecosystem is. And then once we start to take these trees that we see in these point clouds, and we can start to separate them into individual trees, and we can extract a wealth of information from these trees. Then we can then take all of these individual trees and bring them back together and look at how that forms a community and how we can manage that community in a way that we can provide multiple ecosystem services. As a means to achieve that, we went through the effort of creating 2 benchmark data sets that are useful to solve to get to this work that we're doing. So one is the 4-instance data set that aims at providing label data to do instance segmentation of trees, so separating individual trees. And the other one is to say something about the tree species. So the 4-instance data was published and is publicly available. You can download it. There's a Zenodo repo. And it's composed of 1,130 trees across different forest types. And these are drone laser scanning point clouds, where you can download this and train some deep learning model to do the semantic and instance segmentation. What is maybe more relevant for the ecology is the tree species classification, which is once we have these individually segmented trees, we want to tell something about what species they are. So we built this quite large database of 20,000 trees. These are all trees that are basically manually segmented, which is a really painful process. And a lot of collaborators provided us with that data. We're covering about more than 30 species. And this is basically what each data point looks like. It's a single tree with a point cloud. And we want to classify the species. What's important to mention is that it's different sensors, both airborne sensors or ground-based sensors that are in the data set, so that to build some sort of sensor platform agnostic models. We ran a first internal data science competition within kind of the forestry community and the forestry AI community, and was fantastic because we're not that used to have that kind of approach to science. So in this case, we were really like able to do 5 years of research in 5 months and like really understand what methods work best, what not. If you want to see more, there's a GitHub repo out. You can go and look it up. There's the leaderboard. The data is not yet public, but we will publish it once the paper is accepted. This was the winning method. There's basically a multi-view approach that creates different projections of a tree and uses that to classify the tree species. And we saw that, I mean, there was very nice confusion matrix, quite good accuracy, and the accuracy was constant across sensors. So we could really have a platform and sensor agnostic model. And the accuracy also was fairly consistent across tree size. Here on the x-axis, you see 2-meter height bins. And once we get above trees that are taller than 4 meters, the accuracy is pretty consistent. And that was all for me. Thank you.
It's yeah, where to start? We don't often, part of the reason I invited you is that we don't delve into forest monitoring as much as we do animals. And I think the applications of tech, particularly in the AI space, we hear more about applications of AI for camera traps or acoustics rather than modeling trees. So it's so interesting because this has such implications for carbon and biodiversity monitoring, right? Are you guys exploring that sort of space?
Yeah, very much so, very much so. We are in the, let's say, early steps of like working with the first kind of algorithms that can really then open up towards the applications, and the applications being forest management, being forest ecology, and there's a wealth of information that we're after. We're just like slowly getting into it. And the reason that the process has been slow is partly because we're dealing with this very complex 3D data, and all of the deep learning work related to that is lagging a little bit behind compared to image type of models and so on.
You're getting a heap of questions. But one in particular from Ben was, says that he's heard that LiDAR is still quite expensive to implement. So how long does it take to map an area and make it available for an analysis?
Well, it's always a matter of scale, and it's a matter of where you place that LiDAR sensor. If you have a helicopter and you're flying over thousands and thousands of hectares, it gets cheaper. Here in Nordic countries, we have a tradition of having like wall-to-wall nationwide acquisition that are openly available. So there is a wealth of LiDAR data available.
Another question from Kat was, says that, do you think this could eventually be applied at a more local scale, i.e. for individuals monitoring their forests?
Yeah. So that's exactly like that. We have this kind of very detailed kind of terrestrial-based laser technologies that are for more kind of local or in situ measurements. And then we have we want to upscale those using kind of airborne platforms.
Cool. Okay, can people contact you if they've got more questions?
Please do so. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Stefano.